with the.
I apologize, I did not record.
Oh,
Do we need to start over?
no,
No?
it's not a requirement. Okay, all right. So the lowest bid, 837 plus a 10% contingency, 921. I did want to, point out that we had originally budgeted for this 823.
Correct.
So when we're looking at the approved design costs and the expenditures that have already happened in 24, 25, 25, 26, we're looking at approximately $271,901 that we will have to do a budget adjustment mid-year to add into this project. Being the original bids did not include a lot of the structures, the ladders and the blowers and the vents and the additional safety structures that we're adding to the tanks. So that added to the cost. And as well as just the escalations over the fiscal year. And I'm sure if Jubin were here, he would expand upon that. But yeah, so the prices went up, the entire cost of the project went up. We're now looking at a total project cost of $1,199,500.
The items that were added for the structural and all that, was that something that was not known at the time?
Yeah, that when we did the CIP project, my understanding was that the estimates were for the design, for the actual construction being just the coating for the tanks, and then project inspection. It didn't include these additional. I'm going to say apparatus upgrades. So
Appurtenances.
yeah, so we talked with Jubin about this and talked about going into the future, making sure that we really thought about all the different things that might be included in the projects moving forward. We have a really good handle on the in-ground pipeline projects as far as what's needed, what the best practices are, but something like this.
Just in time.
Yeah, so these were things that were kind of thought of after the fact. We were talking about the additional costs to the export.
Oh, you guys are already, I'm sorry for being late. Apologize.
We're there.
Yeah.
We kind of timed it to the point where we're discussing this, it will be when you'll be coming in, so that's
Yeah.
how we did it.
Ready for
That's
questions.
fine. It's fantastic. Yeah, ready for questions. Yes.
So the question was whether we knew about these potential additional costs, because the estimates are, a little bit,
Right.
quite a bit lower.
Yeah, when we put together for the tank resurfacing, when we put together the capital program, we assess it at the 30,000 foot level and say, okay, we're going to repaint this tank. And then when the project is assigned, we get in there with the operations staff, and maybe Sarah already explained this, but the operations staff gets in there and says, hey, the ladder doesn't look good, or there's improvements that the ops team wants to put in. Now, there's definitely lessons learned here that we want to take back and say, okay, if we're going to have these projects again, we want to talk to the ops team when we're putting the capital program together, so these things don't happen again, right? So it's not, it doesn't, we're spending all this money repainting the tank. We want to make sure their appurtenances like the ladders and the overflows and those things are kind of taken care of, because it's going to be, hopefully 20, 25 years before we go back into these tanks and repaint them. So in that sense, it kind of makes sense. But the part that I think is definitely a good lessons learned is let's talk to them during when we're putting together the capital budget, which happens every 3-4 years, and see if what it is that can be upgraded. The problem that we've run into is when we put together the capital program, there's 90 projects on there, right? And we have an idea of when they're going to be done. Maybe this is going to be done in 4 years or 5 years, but a ladder or overflow, it's kind of hard to predict, like in 5 years, do we need to replace that ladder or not? But we're going to work with the ops staff to make sure that these things are more tightened up.
When you say the ops staff, you're talking about our ops staff.
Yes, yes.
So Because it is a substantial amount, so if. I know that you're gonna put this tank out of service, and it will be silly to put it out of service, so that 2 years from now, you put it back out of service to me. So if we don't do these things, the ladder, all of that stuff, I mean, what does it do to the project? We could still do it, it's gonna be
Yeah, no, we can
hazardous, it's gonna
absolutely,
be dangerous.
no,
it's gonna
we can absolutely do it. The problem is that over a period of times, these other items will fail, or it doesn't increase the productivity of our operation staff. And so we can absolutely repaint the tank and not do anything. It's that these things, if we're gonna go in there and gut the tank and remodel, you could think of it like a house remodel. If we're gonna paint the outside of your house, if there's little things that need to downspout or other things that may need to be upgraded, that's the time to do it while everything is down. But you can still repaint your house. We can certainly recoat these tanks without
Correct.
these upgrades.
But when when the contractors bid, they bid
Mhm.
for what we presented them, which was just painting.
No,
No.
no, they bid with these appurtenances.
Ah.
So they were part of the package that went out. So all these
So we knew-
contractors,
So we had to have guessed there's gonna be more at some point. We didn't know how much, but we
Right.
had to know
Yeah.
there's gonna be more.
so that's why the engineer's estimate was 820,000. So it included the stuff that the ops staff had put in.
Yeah,
It's on the budget side of the 30,000 foot level capital program that's the part that was missed, right? So if,
because we had 823, right?
Yes.
We had 823, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
no, so yeah, so if, under the engineer's opinion, it's 820, so it included all their appurtenances and everything, but when we developed the capital program, which is the step before this, right? That didn't have it. And so that's the part that I think there's lessons learned for us when we're looking at the total capital program, which is a massive program. When we're looking at a tank recoating, we should be talking to, or any kind of tank work, we should be talking to our ops team and saying, what can we include, or what is your wish list, so we can include that. And then, and then adjust the budget that way.
Accordingly, yeah.
And if I could add, so it
Sorry,
doesn't
God, I was
necessarily
talking
have
for a
to
while.
be, go down all, 90 projects in the whole capital program. I think probably what makes sense is, and where the kind of the disconnect happened this time is when we do the fiscal year capital budget, before we do that, that's when we sit down and say, what do we need to add? Because we had the numbers from the capital project and we escalated those by, a year or so. So that was the number that's in our budget, is based on that. But then we did, as Jim described, we looked closer, added the appurtenances, increased the scope beyond what was in the original capital program. And then, but the engineer's estimate for the project, the construction itself with the appurtenances, was only $17,000 lower than the lowest bid. So it was within 2%. So that number was good. It's just the timing of that number matching up to the annual budget.
No, I don't think you need to convince me that if you're gonna do this work, this is the time to do it. Because it will be silly not to, so that a few years from now, you're gonna say, oh my God, what happened? So that doesn't take that much to convince. So the money, the extra money that's going in here is gonna have to come from somewhere else to pay for this. What is it gonna do to us?
So if you recall, we also have kind of some so this is a PAYGO project, which I'm thinking, make sure I get that all straight. This is a PAYGO project. So we had undesignated kind of unspecified dollars that we had in the budget for that. So that's really where it's coming from. And we're also doing this project a little later than originally identified. So it's really next year's budget that it's coming from. So from a cash flow perspective, we don't have any concerns. From a total, capital expenditures that, designated and planned, we don't have any concerns. So it's,
Questions?
We've worked with these folks before.
Not at this district, but in some of the sister districts that we work at and serve as district engineers, we have. And the reason I think they came in at such a nice bid was they're just wrapping up a project at Westboro Water District in South San Francisco, and they've done an outstanding job there. The change orders are less than 3%. And so they're a very reputable company. And then they've done, as Sarah kind of has in her report, worked, throughout they already have staff on the peninsula. I think they just want to kind of transition to ours. So it works out well.
Thank
you. Questions? You're good. Kirk, any questions from your end?
No, I'm satisfied with as it's turned out. It's a reasonable upgrade to do these things now.
Right, very good. Any other questions from anybody or any comments? We're good? Okay. So this is a resolution, so I do need a motion, please.
So moved, resolution 2026-01 for a capital improvement project, export and tank. Contract with Eurostyle Management, the Westbourne and West Belmont, sorry, an export and tank improvement project.
For 837K.
There we go. Be official.
Yes, second?
I second.
Second, okay, very good. So we do have a motion by Director Cotton and a second.
President Vella, I just want to clarify that there is a 10% contingency in there too. So I would
Yes.
assume in the.
Yeah,
in
Sarah
that-
mentioned that already.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right,
Director Cotton,
Yes.
Director Covington,
yes.
Director Wheeler, bad time.
Yes.
And President Bella.
Yes. All right,
Sounds like I walked in right on time. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I did bring some dessert from Japan. I was visiting Japan, and so some banana Kit Kat. So they like their flavored Kit Kats here. So I'll open it up and pass it along.
All right. Very good. Okay, you can stay then.
Soften.
All right, the next item is to receive the semi-annual report on the 2025 COP financing through December 2025.
yeah,
Kat, you gonna introduce this?
sure.
Yes.
So if you recall, we passed that very large COP, which was completed in March and funded in the beginning of April. This will be our first semi-annual report. We decided not to have one at the kind of June mark just because we hadn't spent any money yet. But we have started spending money for sure. So James will give his report on the reconciliation of the funds, and Dan Bergman of IGS Service, or IG Service, sorry, who's kind of our third party oversight to, further make sure we're spending everything appropriately. He will also give his report. James?
Hi, yep, so you guys can hear me fine?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, good evening, I'm sorry I couldn't be there for the banana Kit Kats, actually sound amazing. But
Save you one.
here's a summary of the proceeds. I did have the date wrong on that first line, net proceeds as of 12/21. It should be April 1st, 2025. So this was pulled from I recycled this from the 2016 COPs. So I'll adjust that for the next one going forwards. But here we have the COP funds receipts, net proceeds. We've got transfer of the cost of issuance, project costs incurred to date, as well as the total revenue that we've earned to date. And that's net of the fair market value adjustments that we make on a monthly basis. On the next page, we've got the breakdown of the cost of issuance, COP completed project costs, the cost of issuance that transfer to project funds. So we originally had 279,000 that was deposited into the cost of issuance. We only incurred 251,000 in closing costs. So the remainder portion is being transferred to the project costs column. The completed project costs is approximately $1 million at this point. And then we've also earned, again, 892, of which 1 million is actual cash receipts, and then we've had market value adjustments Just the way fair market value is, it's $109,000 down, but that will start declining as these investments mature. And at this point, I'll just turn it over to Dan to talk more through his letter.
Thank you, James. And Kat, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Great.
Welcome, Dan.
Well, hello, staff and board, and I am also sorry that I'm not there to enjoy that special dessert. I'm also pleased that my numbers agree with James, although he had a chance to see my numbers. So this is the first report on the 2025 COPs. And just to review what I'm doing, it's essentially an audit, verification, and tracking as we move through time, in this case, of the spending of the 2025 COPs. And obviously it's independent because I'm an outsider. What I am doing is looking at source documents, looking at the requisitions that are issued to the Bank of New York, and then looking at the bank statements. And so what I'm showing you here, the totals match James, but showing you the investment returns each month. That initial dip at the beginning is interesting in that it was, my understanding of that is that, well, first of all, there were about 50 treasury notes invested in that I could see on the statements, but some of them were purchased at a discount. So the value dropped, but then quickly recovered. And so you see the same number that James shared, 892,110. And then the spending by month, 1,038,000, as James shared. And then the ongoing balance of the project fund for the bonds. And I am using market value. There was some discussion about using market value versus cost. For the time being, I'll just stick with market value and indicate it as such. So going to the next page. This shows the amounts from each of the 7 requisitions by project. And this aligns with the requisitions, of course, and the bank statements. Next. This shows the specific projects. And in this case, I am showing the projects against the budget that was provided to me by CAT. I have also identified projects that weren't listed in the budget, very small amounts, and preserving that line, other projects not yet identified, to achieve the total of available funds. So this is the first report. So the COP funds spent during the period are the same as the total spent. But as we move over time, the total will increase and the reporting period amounts will be lower, of course, than the total. Okay, next slide. I like pictures, and so here's a graph of where we've started and where we're going. I assumed the spending over 5 years, $33 million. I'm showing the spending through December 25th. And also I just made that little mark there because I could see that your 25-26 budget number was 13.7 million. Obviously you could easily achieve that. All you need to do is pay for some really big projects, but you will see this develop as we move over time. And that is it. Oh, one more comment I wanted to make is, as I especially worked on this first report, I had a lot of exchange with both Kat and Sarah, and a lot of things were clarified, and it's very healthy exchange. Well, for me, because it helped me do my report, but I think it was helpful for Kat and Sarah as well. They are a pleasure to work with. All of you are a pleasure to work with. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dan.
What else?
Any questions? And we are working to increase our spending. And as you know, we'll be starting construction on Folger very soon. That will start, racking up the spending, and we're spending a lot on Dairy Lane design, so that you'll see increasing as well. And then Decoven tanks will be later this summer. So we're gonna hit our marks.
Good. Dan, question for you. So, because you told me that you you also obviously communicated with our staff and all that, but the numbers that you had were your numbers that then they matched their numbers, right? So you had your numbers independently of our staff.
Well, the requisitions are from your staff because your staff originates the requisitions, and that's where my questions were.
The rest comes from the statements.
What's that?
I'm assuming the rest comes from the statements that you're pulling from the bank. In terms of the other end of it.
Yeah, as well as our, the budget.
Okay, well, I was getting at towards the check and balances that we should have, you know, that will, you know, solidify the numbers that we have here, that's all.
Yeah, we have provided copies of the bank statements directly to Dan, so that way he could independently verify that those requisition amounts were also distributed out of our accounts, and that he can independently verify that the investment income was received in those accounts. So,
All right, very good. Any questions or comments, anybody? So this,
I just
yes,
have one question.
please.
I just wanted to understand the comment that you were looking at the month-end project fund by market value instead of cost. Could you just explain, you know, why you choose that and what it would look like if you used cost? I'm not sure. I understand the value of doing one over the other.
yeah, so when you look at market value, basically you look at it from the point of, hey, if we have this huge project that comes online that we have to make a big, large upfront payment now, and we have to basically get those investments and have them mature early, basically cash out those investments, that's the value of those investments as of December 31st. So basically, it's just a market transaction as of December 31st if you were to get rid of those investments at that point. That's why we tend to focus more on the market value versus the actual cost. Now, the district's history and policies to hold on to the investments for as long as possible until they mature. I don't think we've ever had an early redemption of any treasury securities. But it's valuable to know, like, if you needed to make a large upfront payment now, what is the value of those investments today?
That makes sense. Thank you.
all right, very good. Any other comments? Hearing none, so this is just the receive the report, right? So the collection to be taken. All right, good. Dan, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Dan.
James, you're still stuck with us?
All night long.
All right, very good. Thank you. Right,
Thanks, Dan.
item, the next item is to receive, report, and review investment structure and plan performance for Mid-Peninsula District Public Agency Retirement, PARS, and OPEB, and PRSP. And this,
That's all.
go, Pat, we'll go.
Yes,
All right.
so first I want to point out, we got an updated presentation. So you should have the first, about 18 pages of that presentation that has updated numbers through December. The earlier version, I think, was through September, so that's the difference here. And we have with us, folks from PARS and Highmark Capital. We have, I see Jennifer Meza, did Tanner join?
Yes, Tanner's
Tanner
down below.
as well, Tanner Love and Dennis Mullins. So thank you all for coming. And I'll hand it over to you. You got a couple slides to get through.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead. Should I share my screen or will somebody be sharing the screen? Oh, there you go. Perfect. Thank you so much. Good evening, board members. Thank you all so much for having us here once again. We tend to do this on an annual basis, usually around the holidays. This time we went ahead and did right after the holidays, but we do thank you for your time. There's a lot of slides here. We won't cover every single one on there, but we're going to cover a couple of the slides to give you an overview of the plan, the administrative portion, and then the majority of the portion of today's presentation will discuss the investments, and that's what Dennis Mullins is here for today. Once again, my name is Jennifer Meza. I'm from PARS. If we go to the next slide, all of our contact information is here. You all know how to get a hold of us. We're here if you need anything. We'll go to the next slide, two more slides. There haven't been any changes as far as the trust team. PAR still continues to be the ongoing administrator of the plan. US Bank still the trustee, and PFM Asset Management, the investment manager with Dennis Mullins. No changes there from the last time that we met. All right, one more slide. Yeah. So here it gives you an overview. This slide covers the next two slides, essentially just to give you an overview in case anybody needs a summary of the program that the district currently has with us. You have a Section 115 program that allows you to put money aside for an essential government function. The district has chosen to put money aside for retiree healthcare or OPEB obligations, and also for pension-related expenses. For accounting purposes, they do have to be separated, as you see here. The OPEB side has about 4.6 million in assets. The pension side has a little bit over $500,000 in assets. District has full flexibility of when to fund the program. You have flexibility of taking money out to reimburse yourself for these costs, pay third-party providers that are providing benefits to your employees and so forth, or for any related expenses on there. The investments are chosen by the district. All the investment options are listed in this presentation, along with investment and historical return information. That can be changed at any point in time. That's why we try to do these annual reviews, so that you can take a look at an updated presentation and see if the board wants to make any changes and whatnot. With that, that covers the next two slides. So we'll go a couple slides forward. So the presentation is broken down in three parts. The first portion will talk about the accounting, essentially the assets for the OPEB plan. Then it's going to talk about the liability. Then we're going to talk about the pension part and the liability for that one. And then we're going to talk about the investment. So three portions. Feel free to stop us at any point in time if you have any questions. This portion will just focus on the bottom, the assets. The district, as of the end of the year, has contributed a total of $3 million into the OPEB plan. You have taken a little bit of money out, about $200,000 there. Looks like we went a little bit further. We can go just back one slide. There you go. The net investment earnings from the district have been 1.7 million since inception, and the account balance as of the end of the year, 4.5 million on there. The next slide just shows you the graphical representation of this information based on the fiscal year end based on the calendar year end. If we go to the next slide, now we take a look at your actuarial valuation. This is done by Actuarial Retirement Consulting, so it's not done by PARS, but we always like to take a look at the latest information to see who's benefiting from these benefits, the amount of money that you owe and so forth, and the discount rate or the long-term expected rate of return that we want to aim for.
Jennifer, good question. On that, going back a couple of steps on the disbursement, what was that for? Do we know?
So let's go to the next slide. Actually, it gives you a better representation of the slide number one more past. Slide 10. So it looks like the total, the $200,000 was taken out in 3 different years. So in 2021, 2023, and 2024. The request would have been for retiree healthcare related on there. I don't have the actual forms. I don't know if staff has a better idea of what those specifically were for, but it would have been for retiree healthcare in those different years.
Yeah, that would be paid for the retiree health cost that the district pays for directly to Aqua JPIA, for the health insurance premiums, and then we reimburse ourselves through this trust plan for that. So the net effect should be 0.
Okay, so these 3 right here, 1, 2, 3 right here. All right, cool. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So it looks like based on the latest actual evaluation as of 2024, you have a total of 24 individuals that may receive a benefit for retiree healthcare. 15 are still working for the district and 19 are receiving those benefits. If we go to the next slide, we've gone ahead and compared the last valuation with the current one. As far as the discount rate or the long-term expected rate of return, what you're trying to aim when it comes to your investment return, that did not change. It's still at 5.5%. Your total OPEB liability, or what's due as of this latest valuation, is about 3.2 million. You did have 3.9 million as of this date set aside into the 115 program. Therefore, you do have a little bit of an overfunded status. You have a little bit over $500,000 in addition to what you currently owe. Again, this is a running number. It can change year to year. Different things can affect this number and so forth. So currently, the district is in a fantastic position at 120% funded. We have maybe less than 5% of public agencies in California that are this well funded. And, I feel like I'm a broken record every year coming to you and saying you really are doing a fantastic job of, you put money aside, you're utilizing the assets when you need to. So you've really made, a great effort to address this liability. If we go to the next slide, now we talk about the investment returns. So I won't touch too much on this, but as you can see here, historically what the district has earned based on a fiscal year end. And since inception, a total of 6.09 in a return. So you are definitely beating that discount rate that the actuary has made the assumption on based on all the different factors. Dennis will touch more on this slide or in his investment slides in a couple of moments. If we go to the pension side, we'll take a look at similar slides, but now for the pension portion of the account. We go to slide number 15. It shows you the assets on the bottom portion. For this one, you've submitted a total of $1.6 million in the account. You have also taken out quite a bit of money, 1.6 million. So it looks like, it could even out, but because you've earned investment earnings on there, you have about $630,000 on there. That's about the amount that's remaining on there, of course, minus any, fluctuations in fees and so forth. If we go to the next slide, we can take a look and see what occurred there. So you submitted the contribution back in 2019 of 1.6 million. That money was taken out in 2021. And again, that's the great benefit of this program, that you can utilize it at any point in time, either to pay CalPERS or to reimburse yourselves back. And then the account continues to grow, or you continue to rebuild it and so forth. You're never required to, contribute again. You're never required to do anything of that. It's extremely flexible at the district's discretion. And then the last slide, one of the last two slides that I'll cover is slide number 17. This is the liability directly from CalPERS for your district for the pension side. It looks like based on the 2024 evaluation, your liability did slightly increase to 12.5 million. Your assets also did increase slightly to 11.5 million, making your unfunded liability at about $1 million. The funded ratio is about 91%. Again, this fluctuates. There's been times when the district has been higher and lower. It does not include the additional $500,000 that you have in the PARS program. And also the last year, the next valuation that CalPERS is going to issue, the investment earnings were well. So if you, the next valuation will probably be out in around September timeframe. You're probably going to be closer to 95% funded on that one. And then, of course, you consider the PARS portion, you're looking closer to 100% funded. So you're also in a very well position for your pension liability as well. So again, the district has made an incredible job, unlike many of our California agencies, to be almost fully funded on both your OPEB and pension, really your largest liability. So congratulations on that. With that said, the next slide just goes into the investments, shows you the historical returns for this specific portion of the account. And then you can also see since inception, 6.72 for this one. So that was just a quick review on the administration of the program. Before I turn it over to the main presentation here on the investments, does anybody have any additional questions?
One quick one, Jennifer, were we also targeting 5.5% return, and we're basically hitting 6.7 overall?
So for the pension is a little bit different. For the pension, CalPERS targets 6.8% on there. And then on the Section 115 program, your district has discretion on what you're kind of targeting on your end, because you can be just as aggressive as CalPERS and try to meet a 6.8%, but you just have local control of those assets. Or you can be more conservative and not necessarily be, that aggressive when it comes to the investments. So there's not necessarily a discount rate the way that OPEB has. It's more of a discretion on the district on what you're trying to aim and your goals are for these funds.
Thank you.
I just wanted to understand one thing that you had said, Jennifer. So it's the money in these plans is fungible to the extent that if we're overfunded in OPEB, if we needed to, we could take funds from that and add them to the pension plan.
So what you could do is you can only withdraw them for OPEB related expenses. And technically in any given year, you can take out the current year plus 1 year prior of what you've already paid. So if you've already paid it on there, you can reimburse yourselves back. Once it's back into the general fund, then you can transfer it over to the pension side. But in order to access them, we do have to have some kind of an invoice that you've already paid this out. If that makes sense. So it's just kind of a moving of accounting buckets, essentially.
Okay.
Kirk, any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I like to hear the assurances that you had and that you were well funded, but I can't help but I have that nervous thing that something may happen, you know, because you can't be riding away for forever. So, but it's good to hear that. I mean, let's keep it going, you know. So
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Anything else? So we'll move
Okay.
on.
We'll actually turn it over to Dennis. He's going to discuss the investments on the account, just give you a little bit of an overview.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, very quickly, I want to go through the investments. I was just looking at what the market's been doing so far in 2026, and the S&P 500 so far is up about 1%, just under 1%. And with tremendous volatility, if you've been watching over the last few days,
I wonder why.
yeah, there's just been crazy announcements and then reversals, and the market keeps trying to react to that. And we saw this in early 2025 as well. And then the market finally just quit listening to what was happening and settled down. So 2025, we just finished a year, was a really good year. The S&P 500 was up almost 17.5%. And for the last 10 years, the S&P 500, which is the U.S. large cap stock market, is up way above its long-term trend. The 100-year trend for the market is about 10% a year. And in the last decade, we've seen average annual returns in the 17% range. So at some point, the market has to stop going up like this. We saw forecasts actually in the beginning of 2024 that we would see a recession and we would see the Fed forced to cut interest rates, and that did not happen in 2024. The market was stronger than expected. Earnings came in stronger than expected. And we had a really good year. And then the same thing happened in 2025, the year just finished. So if there's a reckoning out there, if there's a downtrend in the market, something that gets us back to the mean, it seems to be drawing nearer, but we don't see what the catalyst is for that, right? We're in an environment right now where, from a global standpoint, or from a macro standpoint, I should say, we're seeing falling interest rates, falling oil prices, falling tax rates. It's hard to create a better scenario for corporate earnings. And corporate earnings is ultimately what drives the stock market. And so consumer spending across the board is still strong. The only real concern out there right now, if you look at the high frequency economic data, is job growth. The job growth has slowed. The rate of growth in jobs has slowed. And to the point where, we're starting to see concerns, more and more concerns about job growth. But the working age population is also not growing right now. So as a result, we're not seeing a jump in an unemployment rate. So let's go ahead and go forward. I'm going to skip quite a few pages here. Let's stop on that page right there. This is a quick review of the market. I mentioned before the 10-year S&P 500. If you look at that 10-year column, you'll see some very strong numbers across that entire top line. Our forecast for the next 5 years, we update this forecast every year. But it's notable that our shortest forecast is 5 years. That goes beyond this administration. Our forecast for the next 5 years is that large cap equity returns will be in the 6.8% range. That's a far cry from the numbers that we've seen. But it's still a positive number, and it's still higher than bond returns. So, that's something to keep in mind. If you go down to where it says fixed income and go across that first line, the Bloomberg U.S. Aggregate Bond Index, that's a good index for the bonds that we buy for you. You'll see there that for the year, now this is as of September 30. We don't have the data updated for December yet for the pooled funds, but on a year-to-date basis, you'll see a number, 6%. And these are bonds that are yielding 4%. It actually finished the year a little over 7%. And making 7% in a year on 4% bonds means that interest rates came down a little bit in the year. So it was a really good year for stocks. It was a really good year for bonds. We're expecting lower returns going forward out of stocks, but good returns out of bonds. We think bonds will continue to give us in the neighborhood of 4% a year. So very good returns historically the last 5 and 10 years. You've benefited from that primarily from stocks. The muted returns going forward is how we think things are going to compare. And I do have a couple of pages. If you page forward, we have returns on these portfolios. I want to skip the next 4 or 5 pages. This is an economic review, and I'll just make a couple of comments as I go through. But let's skip to the next section, and I just want to hit the highlights on investment returns. Keep going. There's a divider, and then we'll get into, there you go, next page there. So this is the moderate strategy that both of your investments are in. They're invested in a pooled fund, which allows you to move from one investment strategy to another at no cost. And this moderate strategy is roughly 50-50. You're half stocks and half bonds. You started out from 2011 with your OPEB in what we call our moderately conservative strategy, which was much more conservative. And then in 27, you made a decision to move to the more aggressive 50-50 portfolio, and that's benefited you greatly. So your timing on that was impeccable. You can see here for the year, over 8%. For 3 years, over 13%. And anytime you've got a 50-50 portfolio that's earning more than 10% a year, that's a fantastic period. And you can see it's done that for the last 3 years. And again, that's on the strength of the stock market and the bond market over the last 3 years. Longer term, you can see the returns settle in around 7. Your historic compound annual growth rate is 6 and change. And that's, a blend of a more conservative strategy with this strategy. But again, still in the same neighborhood. Going forward, we think the stocks are going to do less well than they've been doing. We think their bonds are going to do better than they've been doing. So the expected return for your portfolio going forward is not that much different than what the long-term returns are in that 6 to 7% range. There's a lot of information on this chart, and I'm going to go ahead and finish with this, but this shows the asset allocation. This shows the actual holdings of your portfolio on the gray shaded lines. These are mutual funds. These are the best funds that we can find in the market. These are not proprietary funds. And we will switch these funds out whenever we find a better alternative. We could use individual stocks and individual bonds to build this portfolio. There's no regulation that says we can't, but we get better cost efficiency by using mutual funds and better diversification at the same time. And by the way, mutual funds trade with no commission. So it's very easy to move in and out of them. So the stocks are shown on this page. On the next page, we have the bonds and the rest of the portfolio. So I'll go ahead and leave it there. You're capping off a great year, which concludes 3 consecutive great years in a row. Our expectations are for a little bit lower returns going forward, but we don't really see any disasters on the horizon. So I'll go ahead and stop there and see if you have any questions.
So then your advice will be to just keep it going the way it is?
That's a good question. You're fully funded in your OPEB. Here's the irony. If you reduce, being fully funded, your actuary under GASB 75, is my understanding, sets the discount rate equal to the expected return of the portfolio. So the irony here is that if you take a more conservative view, your discount rate of 5.5% will probably come down a little bit. And that will raise the present value of the total OPEB liabilities. So what you benefit by taking a more conservative approach to investments and adding a little safety to the portfolio, you'll probably see a jump in the present value of your accrued liabilities. That's something to consider. You're 50-50 in your portfolio mix now. If you said you wanted to go to a more conservative, the next step down, that moderately conservative, is 30-70 roughly. It doesn't change the mix of the portfolio that much. I would be okay with you making that move. I'd be fine with you staying where you are. I think you'll be in a very similar position either way.
Okay, and I thought I heard you say that both on the bond side and the stock side, that both did well, which is, contrary to what we have grown up with, because usually it's one does well, the other one does not, and it's vice versa. But you're saying that this was good on both sides, correct?
For the last 3 years, yes. So
Yeah.
for the last 10 years, it's been good for the stock market. For the last 3 years, it's been good for the bond market. Beyond that, the bond market did very poorly. And if you look at the fixed income line here, now this is through 9/30, but the results are long term. For 3 years, 577. For 5 years, 0.61. For 7 years, 2 and change. And since inception, 2 and change. So going forward, we think that the bond returns will be in the 4% range. So double what they've been long term. Stock returns, again, expected to come down.
Just out of curiosity, how well are these investments doing compared to like real estate investment?
Well, we actually have under other growth there, we have an index, that second line that says MSCI US REIT Index. So we can look at that. For 1 year, this is as of September, it's a little negative. For 3 years, 10.87. For 5 years, 9. The stock market has done better than real estate. But real estate returns have been positive. For 7 years, 6. 10 years, 6. Since inception, 12. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wanted to ask a question about the cost of the advisory fees and managing the program. Like, how do we look from that standpoint? Because I noticed that returns are gross of investment advisory fees on the charts.
Yes, they are. Jennifer, do you want to go through the fees or?
Yes, so the total fees, they're based on assets. Par starts at 25 basis points and PFM and US banks start at 35 basis points, and they go down as assets increase. You have slightly over 5 million. That's the first fee break on there. But as they continue to grow, it'll go down. So you're looking at about 0.60 or 60 basis points for the fee.
I'm sorry, Jennifer, they drop to 5 once you're over 5 million, is that what you said?
No, after 5 million, it starts going down. You're slightly over that. So it'll be just slightly under 60 basis points, but that's about what you're looking at. Once you have, maybe, 10 or so a million in there, if you happen to have that, that's when they significantly start going down.
Chuck? Good.
No, I'm good. I read through that. This is really a very well-written report. I really appreciate the detail, particularly the economic updates and so forth. I appreciate having that kind of granularity in the reports.
I don't know why, I look at these sometimes as, gambling. And when you gamble and you're winning, you always have to keep in mind, one of these days, you're gonna hit something and you're not gonna like it. So, but anyway, this is a very positive report, obviously, so thank you very much. Kirk, do you have any questions on anything? We good?
No, no particular questions, although we were not happy in, I think it was 22 when the numbers looked a lot worse that year, but
Everybody's numbers look bad that year.
That was COVID year.
that one year that stood out.
Yeah, we were not happy in 2022 either.
Yeah.
It was a good time to buy.
Yeah, but that's a good experience builder. In 2022, the interest rates jumped and the stock market happened to go down at the same time. The stock market was down 18% that year. The bond market was down 11%. And, across the board, everything went down. And when we're in the market, that's going to happen. And that's why we stress we have to be very long-term in our investment goals here. Because the market, it's at all-time highs right now. That means it's made up every loss it's ever incurred. I mean, all the way back to the Great Depression and, the global financial crisis, everything. But the question is, do we have time to wait? Because sometimes it's going to take several years to recoup losses if they're deep enough. So, yeah, it's definitely made up all of its losses from then.
Does it anticipate, given, I don't know if they're known as the big five now, the major tech firms that are driving a vast majority of the market up, when does that merry-go-round stop from your excellent vantage point?
That's a very difficult call. Right now, the dominant positive contributor to market outlooks is the artificial intelligence revolution.
Yeah.
And yet we really don't have there's really not a lot of clarity. Nobody has a really good handle on exactly who the winners are going to be and what form it's going to take. And, so that's very difficult to say. We don't really see anything that indicates we're at the end of the bull market that, we've been enjoying for several years. But when a catalyst comes for this market to roll over and go down, it'll come out of the blue, right? Just using history as a guide. It'll be something that's not on anybody's radar screen right now.
Wait and see.
Yeah, and how quickly can the district react to that in terms of making changes to its investment strategy?
You can react as quickly as you want. I would caution you, however, to, if your investment objectives or your goals change, then we should change the portfolio. If you become concerned that the market's going to fall, I wouldn't suggest changing the portfolio because now you've become the market timer. And I only, point that out. We're not capable of timing the market. right? There's been adequate reason to be very concerned about the market for the last 2 or 3 years. And yet it's just gone up and up and up. And that's very important. We often talk about the market risk in terms of losing money. Just as important is the market risk of being out of the market when it goes up. So, I would suggest that trying to time the market is not a productive endeavor. But to answer your question, just contact PARS and you can move the portfolio anytime you want. So.
Yeah, and just real quick, I to add, I would avoid reacting to the market, and that's one of the reasons we chose the strategy we have is because it stratifies between what the market will bear, what the equity market will bear, as offset by fixed income, like the bonds that will stabilize our investments for a time being. So it gives us time to evaluate what the market is doing before reacting to it, and to make an informed, educated decision and well thought out decision. So.
Point. Did you answer?
Yes, got my answer.
You can do it anytime. Have to be careful, that's all. Yeah, so far so good. Any more comments or questions? Good.
One thing, President Vella, I noticed that there appears to be a member of the public on, so I just want to make sure we're calling for public comment appropriately.
Oh,
Okay.
that's right. Any public comments? No, okay, can we move on to the next?
You have to, there's a resolution and you need to decide if you want to stick with the.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the third
Oh.
speaker wants to say anything else that we have. Or we're good?
We're good. Thank you. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Very good. No, thank you. This was very, very informative. So, this is to receive a report. That's an approval. So we have a resolution. You're talking about 2026-03, correct?
Two. Approving the planned investment portfolio for this year.
Keep staying the course.
Yes,
in that
basically just-
portfolio.
Yeah, oh, that's right, yeah, O2, for the considering resolution approving the plan investment portfolio for 2026. Okay, so with this meaning that we're gonna keep everything the way it is, correct, Kat?
Yes.
Yes, very good.
That's
All right, any question on that or good?
And
So do we have a motion to approve 2026-02?
I will move to approve resolution 2602, approving the 2026 investment portfolio for the Mid-Peninsula Water District PARS 115 Trust Plan OPEB and PRSP.
Very good. All right,
Oh, second?
second. So we do have a motion and a second. So
Director Covington? Yes. Director Cotton?
Yes.
Director Wheeler?
Yes.
President Bella?
yes. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Jennifer, thank you very much, okay? Now we'll move on to item D, receive a report on accounting and internal controls and risk assessment.
Yay, me. All right. So this is the second year that we filed this report. Last year, I believe, Director Covington, this was your first meeting. And I don't remember if Director Cotton was attending the meeting, but I don't believe he was a member of the board quite yet. But a little bit of background that a couple of years ago, the San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury Report released that as internal controls report. And what they did is they surveyed they surveyed all the local jurisdictions within the county. And they did only receive responses from 54 entities. There was 27 other special districts and cities that were required to respond to the grand jury. And all of them had, not all of them, but nearly all of them had findings related to internal controls. The findings that were related directly to the district, to the water district, there were only 2 out of the relevant 5 that was listed originally. And the findings were that the district had never done a risk assessment over its internal controls and control environment. And so, and it hadn't done it, one, it had never done it, and two, of course, it hadn't done it annually. So the requirements were that we start assessing the internal controls, at least as of last June. The board was required to at least initiate this process last March, and to finalize it no later than June 30th. We were able to finalize this in our March meeting last year. And so we have to bring this to the board annually. We had decided to bring this to the board before the budget process, because we're setting the framework for the budget that's coming up for the fiscal year to 26-27 budget. So internal controls is, it's got many facets, many different layers. We have different areas where, such as operations, reporting, and compliance, that we have to have internal controls, related internal controls. But really the main areas, the main components of internal controls are related to the control environment. So what's happening in the entity as a whole? What is the tone at the top? How are those values being distilled down into the employees? How are they being carried out? And then the next attribute is risk assessment. So what does the district do to assess its internal controls, to assess its risks, the risk appetite? So for example, we just went through the PARS presentation. We are evaluating what the market has done, what it can do, what is our risk appetite related to the investments for that particular thing. That's a risk assessment activity. The next tenant is, or the next attribute is called control activities. So what do we do day to day to mitigate our risks? So when we process accounts payable or our checks to pay our vendors or to pay our employees, what is the process that we employ to make sure that the assets of the district are protected and we're mitigating any potential of fraud, waste, or abuse? Information and communication, when we're talking about that, this is related to what are the systems that we utilize to mitigate any potential risks. So we use our accounting systems, so that way we can have a transparent financial system. We can account for all our transactions. That accounting system can't be altered. It can't be adjusted except through normal processes. You can't change the data that's already in there. We utilize GIS mapping system to track, meters and various pieces of our infrastructure. And then how does that communicate out? So we're constantly communicating to the board about the status of these different items, the status, our financial condition. We've got the district engineers reports. We've got those monthly reports that we're constantly communicating, not only to you, but to one another. So that way everybody's aware of these risks. And then again, monitoring activities. What are the activities that we do to watch for these risks? So is this, who's got their ear to the ground to hear what's happening at BOSCA or SFPUC, or who's monitoring, weather conditions, those kinds of risks? Who's monitoring the cyber environment, right? Because that tends to be a big risk. Who's monitoring the economic environment? So what are those activities related to that? The other piece for the grand jury report is to make an assessment of whether we think as management and the board that these controls, these pieces, these attributes of our internal controls and risk assessment activities, are they present and functioning? Typically with the framework that we've been using, which is the Committee of Sponsoring Organizations of the Treadway Commission, or COSO. I'm sure a lot of you folks have heard COSO. We always ask ourselves, are they present and functioning? And so we've come to the conclusion that yes, all of these components are functioning. And here's the graphic, we've got the graphic here for the control environment and what it kind of looks like at the entity level, division level, operating unit on down. So when we brought this to the board last year, we noted that there weren't going to be significant changes. And there were no significant changes. The only change that we had in management was Rena leaving and Sarah coming on board. We did, of course, have a new director come on board between the last time we approved this and now. But those are really just personnel changes, and they don't impact the internal control environment. The only other significant change I've noted that has happened since we last approved this was consideration for the strategic plan. So since we adopted this last year, we've gone through two strategic planning meetings where we talk about our objectives, our goals, and what our accomplishments have been. So you'll see in a couple of the sections here, particularly for the control environment, that I have added in red that the district also updates its strategic plan on an annual basis by identifying goals, objectives, and priorities, which really guide the direction of the district, the overall direction. And that also helps management with their control activities and making sure that the control activities are lining up with what the board wants. The other piece to this control environment is there's a show of responsibility and accountability, because within that strategic plan, we also talk about what the accomplishments are of the district. So we update that on an annual basis to reflect the board's priorities, their concerns. There's very robust discussions related to that. The other change that I had was any significant changes to job descriptions. They're taken both to the board of directors as well as the bargaining group. So that way everybody's on the same page as to roles and responsibilities of the various folks. So we're establishing those roles and responsibilities. And that was pretty much the only change that we've had for the year. I want to highlight in the third section under control activities, which you're just about to, oh, there you are. Okay, so control activities, again, I tell you, is the day-to-day operations of the district. One thing I did not want to do is I did not want to bring in our control points into a public-facing document, because when you do that, it reflects, it gives folks an opportunity to exploit those control points, to find any weaknesses in those control points. And so we didn't necessarily want to do that. Now, we do engage in the annual audit, that one of the functions that they have to do is they have to look at our internal controls, test those internal controls to make sure that they're present and functioning. So they are validating what we're doing here through that audit. So those control activities are documented, but they are not a public-facing document at this point. That was really the main thing I wanted to highlight was, and I brought that up last year as well, is those control activities that they are reviewed and evaluated by the external auditors as well. Those were the only significant changes to this document. Those were the only changes to this document was related to the strategic plan, because in your control environment, you're guiding the direction of the district. And then I noted through my experience over the past year and a half about the job descriptions that I thought that was kind of important. A lot of the controls are dictated by policies that the district has. So when you look at the control environment, the policies and procedures, for example, we have a financial management policy that gets updated on a periodic basis. We have a personnel policy that's updated on a periodic basis. Emergency operations policy and procedures that's updated. Those are all important for the control environment to be present and functioning, because that really, we establish our internal controls in relation to those to make sure that we're meeting all the requirements that you have put forth through those policies, and then that protect the assets of the district. And that is it.
Is that all?
Okay, any additional comments, Kat or Sarah, from this?
No, I mean, I think it's very thorough and
Okay.
it's good to have the review to know that we're doing
I have
as
a
well.
quick comment. So, James, you said job description, okay? How do you define significant changes? Because you said any significant changes to job description are taken, a significant change could be to the bargaining group, but it would not be to the board of directors, for example. Or
Yeah, it's fairly subjective. There's no set definition. If you're changing the nature of the job, the one that comes to mind is when I don't remember who it was. We promoted to an operations manager, not operations manager. Think of Jonathan.
Michael.
Yes, sorry. That's the one I'm thinking of. When you're changing the kind of the nature of the job.
The job title and the job description, probably totally. That's a new job description. But, when I say a change to a job description, it could be for the same position, and you're going to either identify or define certain roles or certain duties within the position itself. I'm saying because I went through it, and then we had to go to the union, and then we had to go negotiations, and we had to go to and all that stuff,
Yeah.
So you're right. It's very subjective when you say significant changes, because it could mean, 10 different things to these 10 people that we have here.
Yeah.
So,
but it is also outlined in the personnel manual.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying it's also outlined when it's brought to the board in the personnel manual as well.
All right, Kath, you want to say something?
I was only going to give the example of the job description where we had the administrative specialist position that we broke out into a payroll specialist and an AP specialist, because they really were different roles, but we had, the description included both. So that was a significant change, even though it was just documenting what we were currently doing.
Yeah. But I could see that this is something that, the bargaining group could question or could argue, about it. In any job description, we used to put in, and any other related duties.
Every single one has that.
So,
yeah.
But, that did not always go well. So, you can say all you want, but the union are going to challenge you, every step of the way, so you have to be a little bit more specific. But I see the point here. All right, anything else on this one?
No, I thought it was a very good summary.
Yeah.
Do you want to check for public comment?
Yeah. Any other comments from anybody here? Any public comments? We still have one member of the public? Okay, very good. So this was receiving a report. Okay, James, thank you so much. And now we'll move on to item 8C, which is consider approval of the 2026 strategic plan update that we discussed at nauseam at the special meeting. At length, in detail. All right. So, General Manager, please.
I'll begin by reading the strategic plan cover to cover.
Okay.
So we met all of 2 weeks ago on January 8th and reviewed in detail the plan. Based on the board's direction, 3 priorities were added, so they are listed here. Also, the numbers were updated, so they don't match quite what they were in the previous meeting. So you just have the final document, including those updates. If you have any further questions, comments, edits, we can certainly discuss and apply those. But otherwise, you are asked to approve the plan, including the director assignments.
We added the agenda review, I understand, right?
Yeah.
Does the word scramble looks different, or is it still the same? It's still scrambled?
Yeah, no, that hasn't been updated, but
Now, I thought the changes that we proposed, and approved at the last meeting were included, so thank you very much. Any comments from anybody, questions on that one? Cool. Kirk, we're good on this?
No, I'm satisfied. It looks good.
Very good. All right, thank you. Any questions from anybody in the public on item 8C? Okay. So this needs also the approval, correct? Correct. So we do need a motion and second, please.
So moved for strategic plan update for item 8C.
Very good.
Seconded.
And second, we do have a motion and a second. Allison?
Director Cotton?
Yes.
Director Covington? Yes. Director Wheeler?
Yes.
President Bella?
Yes. Okay. So now let's consider resolution number 2026-03, approving a compensation adjustment for the general manager effective October 1st, 2025. Corresponding second amendment to the general manager's employment agreement and the updated salary schedule effective October 1st, 2025. Administrative Services Manager. Please.
Yes. I'm actually believing I forgot to give you your material. Yeah, I will grab it right now. There we go. So attached right there is the supporting documents regarding the general manager's salary adjustment, which was discussed at the previous board meeting, not the special one, but the previous one before that. So obviously you see there you have the resolution, the amendment, and the updated salary schedule.
I'm just gonna add for the oral summary for the Brown Act requirement. You are adjusting the general manager's salary to be in line with what is customary for general managers, agencies in this area, similarly sized. Increasing the general manager's salary to $282,000 and just a couple clarifying edits to the compensation provision that were requested by the board.
Very good. All right, thank you. Any questions, anyone? Any questions from the public? Okay, none. Do I hear a motion for the approval of resolution number 2026-03?
I will so move. I had a quick question. We don't have to, this is for Julie, I guess. We don't have to, we looked at the agreement, but we don't have to put the agreement in the record. Because I don't see that in the materials.
Yeah, so it does need to be, it will be posted.
Okay.
So it's a public document. It has to be made available at the public's request. It did not have to be in the packet, but it did need to be anyone who requests it. It needs to be made available needs to be made available, like there would be copies available today for folks if they wanted to see it. And then it will be posted online, on the website. And then it gets, basically, there's companies in California that will get the information. And then it's gonna be, there are these sort of clearinghouses that post the, compensation of all public employees.
Mhm.
It will make its way to those places as well.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Yeah, please.
You ready?
Yes.
I move for approval of resolution 2026-03, approving compensation adjustment for the general manager effective October 1, 2025, and the corresponding second amendment to the general manager's employment agreement and the updated salary schedule effective October 1, 2025.
Perfectly executed. Very good. Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second my colleagues' fabulous motion.
Very good. So we do have a motion and a second.
Director Covington,
Yes.
Director Cotton,
Yes,
Director Wheeler,
Yes,
President Bella.
Yes. All right, very good. So we'll move on to management and board reports. That one, what did I miss?
I was gonna say thank you, but.
Oh.
We're done.
I just said October.
On to the next.
So done. Just look at
Okay.
the cat.
No, thank you.
We'll,
Yeah.
we'll go back a step. Thank you, Ms. General Manager. So please, the floor is yours if you want to say something.
She wants to go home.
I was gonna make a big deal, but I was just gonna say thank you so much.
Simply deflated that quickly. All right, now that I stole all your thunder, what else is next? All right, very good. So we'll go to management and board reports. Financial report for the month ending December 31st, 2025.
All right, this is the last time you'll hear from me tonight, so buckle in. No, I'm just kidding. So year to date, we should be, as of December 31st, we should be about 50% of our target, right? We're halfway through the fiscal year. We are currently at 56% or 55.7% of our total revenues that we have collected for operations. So we're definitely trending ahead of target related to that. The biggest changes are, of course, the water commodity charges as of this time last year, which we have increased that approximately $1.2 million, as well as the fixed system charges of $793,000. So those are the big changes, the big swings in the operating revenue. In non-operating revenue, the big change relates to interest revenue, particularly from the COPs. Now we've got a full 6 months worth of $32.5 or $33 million of investments within the COP fund that is generating interest as before we spend it. So we have to date earned $333,000 in just those COP interest revenues. We've also earned $187,000 in U.S. Treasuries, and another $15,000, nearly $15,000 for in our sweep account, which is another investment account that we have. So overall increase in revenues as compared to this time last year is about $1.7 million. Our expenditures are trending a little bit faster right now for this time of the year. So we are at 52% of our expenditures. Our payroll expenditures are pretty much spot on at 50%. So I think we're good there. Purchased water is trending a little bit faster than we had initially expected. So that's about 54%. And that's one of the big drivers for why we're trending ahead. So there will be some adjustments, come down the road that I think this just has to relate to the timing of when the payments are made for purchased water to SFPUC. So that'll wash itself out by the end of the fiscal year. That is the second biggest driver of change for the year. So the change as compared to this time last year is $838,000. The largest change that we've had as compared to this time last year was debt service. So we have currently paid $2.1 million in debt service, and that includes both principal and interest. We made a debt service payment on December 1st, which is our first full debt service payment on the 2025 bonds. So at this time last year, we had paid $1 million, so we essentially doubled that this current year. When you look at the water revenues to date, month to date, we compare based on, not only do we compare, based on how far we are in the year, but we also look at the average monthly use over the past 5 years. Typically at this time of the year, we have received 56.9% or 57% of our water revenues. We are currently at 55%. So we've definitely seen a drop off in usage or in consumption for that revenue. So we are trending a little bit shyer than what our initial projections were. So I believe the shortfall is approximately 50,000. So it's not significant, but it's just one thing to keep an eye out for over the next few months. Our cash position has increased by nearly $1 million. And that does not include investments. So we've had basically transfers from investments as compared to this time last year. There's about $1 million less in investments and about $1 million more in cash and cash equivalents. So we did transfer some funds for that debt service payment, which kind of helped offset some of that. The cash with fiscal agent is significantly higher because, again, of our bond proceeds. Going over the capital budget, we have spent approximately $2.2 million in PAYGO projects, with the bulk of it being in the DLNO water main project, the 2101 project. So that's about $2.1 million. And then we have also spent or accounted for about $106,000 in debt financing for the current fiscal year. So when we talked with Dan Bergman earlier, a bulk of those expenditures were actually incurred in the previous fiscal year. So to date, it was about $106,000 for debt financing for the current fiscal year. And then finally, looking at the reserve schedule of the reserve analysis, you'll see that our working capital and operating reserve were 100% funded at $9.3 million. Our capital reserve remains steady. It's been steady between 85 to 95% month over month. So we're at 88% now. And then we'll start funding the reserve for debt service again in monthly increments. So we've been doing transfers on a monthly basis to the debt service account for the debt service for the reserve. And those are the highlights for the current fiscal year to date. So we'll be bringing you the mid-year budget next month, and then the budget process begins again shortly thereafter. So.
All right, very good, James. Anything added to that? No. Oh, Sarah? Nope. Yeah, you're good.
Just one quick question.
Yeah, please.
So I assume so, James, but I just wanted to double check. Are we operating within the caps of the amount that we're allowed to earn?
Yes. So I update so going through our audit, one of the questions that they had asked is if we could provide that arbitrage calculation. So now I'm updating that on a monthly basis, and we are currently under our cap for the arbitrage. So we're good on that.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. And James, you mentioned, if I heard you correctly, on the revenue side, on the water commodity charges, we're a little under, but it's not that significant, but to watch it, right?
Yeah, so our month to date based on, so when we look at month to date based on, we're at 50% of the year. We're good. We're solid there. But when you look at historical usage, on a month-to-month basis, because the water commodity charges will vary based on the month. Right now we're expecting, of course, low usage. That's where the shortfall comes from. So in, say, April, May, or June, if there's additional usage or additional consumption, that'll make up that shortfall. So.
Correct. So historically, that means that historically, we would make this up as we go along, correct?
Correct.
Based on historical numbers that we had, okay. Because we do want people to conserve, but at the same time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tricky.
It is.
And
Yeah.
so much is governed by the weather. The hotter the summer, the more use we have.
Right.
If it's a cool summer or an early wet season, then we have lower use and lower revenue as a result.
Yeah, but our expenditures have to go
Well,
up.
the purchased water will drop in coordination with it. There's a timing difference with the purchased water, but that'll drop in coordination with our water revenues, our commodity charges as well. So.
All right. Very good. Any additional questions? Kirk, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Good, all right. Questions from the public?
They have left.
I think they dropped.
Left, all right. Good, they've heard enough. All right. All right, thank you, James. Thank you. Okay, district engineer.
I had invited a couple of staff members that we ended up deferring to next month to come in here and talk about it. And I had suggested they come at 8 o'clock. I just want to point out that it's 8:05, so I was within 5 minutes. I looked at the agenda and I said, you know what? I've worked enough with
It looks
Louis
like
to
at
know
8 o'clock.
it's gonna be right at 8 o'clock. So
You know,
it got a little sketchy with the
You know how
strategic plan.
Bella
I
runs
could have
these
gone a little
meetings, you know,
long, but yeah, plus or minus 5 minutes. That's pretty good. So.
I figure for an engineer.
Yeah. So I've worked with Dan Bergman at the last time we had a debt financing, and that graph that he showed where, how much we spend and where we are. We start out at the bottom, but then we really catch up. And so these projects are the ones that show how we're going to catch up, right? And so let's go through these rather quickly. Our next pipeline project is a Lower Notre Dame Willow water main improvements. That's currently under design, early design, so the topographic survey. We just received it, and we're going to start the physical design on the project. The two big projects that were also on Dan's list that are going to be paid out of the COP are the State Route 101 at Panf Crossing. This is a really big undertaking. We're going, as it says, underneath 101. So we're tunneling under 101 with a casing of about 30 inches. And then we're going to stick a 12-inch pipe through that casing. And we've hired tunneling experts, and our consultants are all, they've done this in the past. Where we're running into a challenge is not necessarily the 101 part. The reason this is kind of dragged on a bit is because on the shoreway side, on the other side of the freeway, it's extremely congested. We had to put this project on hold because there was a 54-inch sewer that was being replaced. If you remember, if you had been on that side the last couple of years, there was a lot of construction going on. It was Matt's agency that was replacing the sewer. And so now that's done, which is great, but there was this pent-up project. We have projects, the city of San Carlos has two projects that we're all waiting for them to be done, and then we're gonna jump in there and do it. So they have a sewer project and a storm drain project, city of San Carlos, and we have a water project. And we're all scrambling to put it in as soon as we can. The sewer project, they're anxious because it has leaked, and that's not a good thing. And it's really close to the shoreline and waterways there. And so we're working very closely with the city, and it's very congested. There's gas and other appurtenances there. And we can't get Matt to fully abandon his line. They still want to keep it, right? Like they don't want to give up that right away. So we're working through that. I just wanted to kind of talk through some of the challenges we've been having. It's been a couple of months since we've talked about it in detail. And we're getting really close to having some resolution. And the resolution is essentially we're going to go deeper and keep tunneling on Shoreway. It's not ideal because we won't have access to the pipe very easily. It's about 17 or 18 feet underground.
Wow.
So when we're talking about tunneling, it's really low. We have to tunnel in a location. So we have to go below this layer of like mud essentially and get into clay. And that's where there's a clay band that the geotechnical engineer has identified. And we have to tunnel through the clay. If we try to tunnel through the other stuff, it just kind of falls apart and we can't really do anything. So we have to be really low. And so it's kind of a fun project. I haven't done one in the past, so it's kind of fun watching it being done by, other consultants and stuff. But it's something that's extremely important for us because right now the crossing under 101 is a C pipe, asbestos cement pipe that is very brittle and could come apart in an earthquake rather easily. So we want to replace that as soon as we can. So that's moving forward. Our design is virtually done. We're just coordinating the part on Shoreway.
So Jimmy, this is to bring water over to that side?
It's connecting both sides of our district. So we have customers on the other side of the freeway.
Okay.
And we have currently we have two ways that cross the freeway. One is relatively new, and the other one is this AC pipe. So we want redundancy and replacing our old infrastructure. The other reason we're replacing it with a bigger pipe by the hospital is we want to increase the redundancy to the hospital.
Okay.
I keep calling it a hospital because that's eventually that open space they have back there. They're saying it's going to be a hospital, but behind the parking structure,
Right.
that
What's a wide open?
that wide open. And so and we want our crossing sort of at the ends of our ends of our distribution system. So that is at the end of our line, right? Like right after that, the In-N-Out Burger is Cal Water, right? So we end right at the hospital essentially. So we kind of want to cross there. So it checks off a lot of boxes, as far as making sure there's redundancy for the hospital. We're replacing the crossing here. And so it's an important piece of infrastructure to be put in. So that's a major one. We're really hoping that this summer we get that in because we really need to move forward with it. The other one is the Dekoven tank replacement project. We went out to bid on this about 5 years ago. The prices came in really high. There weren't that many bidders. But now there's a couple of new tank contractors that build tanks that have come into the market. So we're really hoping for some good bids when this goes out. One of the things that's been a bit challenging on that is coordinating with the cell operators that are on the site. There's a couple of operators that are leasing property from us. So we've hired their antennas, right? So they're very close to the tank. I think one of them is actually attached to the tank. So we want them to move their facility so we can demolish the tanks and rebuild it. So we've hired a council that is experts in working with saying that correctly? Yeah, experts in working with cell towers and cell providers to help us through that process. So, and as you can imagine, the neighbors have a lot to say. The city has a lot to say, and those kind of things. That's another really big project. So that one has a lot of coordination with the residents and so forth. The State Route 101 crossing has a ton of coordination. Man, I keep calling BFI. Gosh, I'm dating myself. But waste management, Recology. I'm sorry, Recology. Waste management is my provider. Yeah. When I lived here, it used to be called BFI. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Ferris Industries.
Yeah. So there's a lot of coordination with them, right? Because we're literally right in front of their driveway. So we're going to have to work around their schedule there. So let's see. The other ones are the West Belmont that you just awarded that. So we'll have a separate report on that next month. And then DLNO, I have a separate report on that. City projects, we had a great meeting with the city last week, our quarterly meeting. And gosh, it's just getting better and better coordination with them. We came out of that meeting just feeling really good about everything that's going on with them. And if we had this conversation 3 years ago, it would have been the exact opposite. You know, it's amazing where we progressed with the Public Works Department and the coordination there. So if we can go to I'm sorry, is there any questions on this before I get into DLNO?
So, yeah, on the state route crossing again, at some point when they are tunneling under the freeway, do they close any of the lanes of the freeway as the tunneling is going, or it just stays open all the time?
It stays, my understanding is it stays open. Yeah, there's no shutdown of the facilities.
The lanes.
Yeah, and the reason is it's called jack and bore type. So they're actually they're tunneling a little bit and then pushing the casing through. So there's always going to be a pipe essentially
correct
through there.
Correct. So basically, and you mentioned that besides us, San Carlos also has a project.
Two projects.
So is it going to be a race who goes in first?
We're trying to
has the advantage, obviously.
Yeah, we're trying to work with them because we need room for our pits on the shoreway side.
Yeah.
We need to go first. So it's not a race.
It's a relay race.
Yeah, it's a relay race. And then after we're done, they can kind of essentially they're going to put their sewer with a 5-foot offset right on top of us. Right, but if they put it in first, we can't dig down. We can't dig this big pit in those areas, and it gets really, really complicated.
But you also mentioned that the sewer line was it an old force main?
It was an old force main,
and it's abandoned.
It is abandoned,
but they don't want to remove it.
They're not removing it, or they're reserving their right of way. Right, so they're not calling it abandoned. They're calling it.
Are they going to go inside it again?
I think they're going to. I'm speaking for Matt, but from what I understand, they want to see if they can repurpose it for other beneficial use. So we looked at putting our water main through there.
Through it, exactly.
Right. But we got shot down on that. I think they want other, maybe fiber or other things that they can make money off of.
How big is it? 38, you said?
54.
54.
Yeah, it's really big. It's really big.
You can put a lot of cable lines.
Yeah. There's I mean our 12-inch would have been pretty small.
Exactly.
Through there.
Yeah. There's room for everybody there.
So they don't want to, for us to put our main through there, we would have had to structurally compromise the pipe that they have. Right.
Because you're gonna probably hang it to it or
something, but I think they want to preserve the integrity of it until they decide what they want to do.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could imagine a 24-foot road. That's how wide that is, 20 to 24 feet, 54, inches, 6 feet of it is one big pipe, and everything else is on, one side or the other.
Yeah. And then as far as the strata, you said you hit a clay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have boreholes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's a special geotechnical engineers that are just for tunneling purposes. So they were hired directly by our consultant, and they worked together to come up with the location of the.
Of course.
Yeah, and there were several. There wasn't just one. There were several. And then this project, we needed. We're crossing it right at the hospital, so we had to cross through the hospital property. So we have. That was part of the condition of use. Condition of approval that we gave the hospital. So for us to provide them water, we said we need an easement. You have to allow us to. So it kind of went in at the same time. So that was good. Or else we couldn't even get to 101, right? Like we have to cross the property from industrial to get to 101. So it's been a interesting project so far. So yeah, once it starts, I'd love for everybody to come out there because it's gonna be a really interesting.
Yeah.
Where does the project start, like physically?
So it starts, and I'll probably show it on a map next time just for reference, but it starts on the north side of the hospital. So the hospital is neighbors with PG&E large
Correct.
yard.
Yes.
Essentially, our water main goes
In
on that
between.
property line or close to that property line, essentially. So the north side of the hospital or the south side of
South side of
PG&E.
PG&E property.
Right, there's a creek there, and then we're just south of that creek.
Okay,
So
so
there's
east of industrial.
east of industrial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
So that creek, you're gonna go under the creek?
We're gonna, it becomes a culvert, but we're gonna go underneath it. Right. We cross at a 45. So we cross 101 at a 45 degrees, so that reduces our length on shoreway. Right, because if we went straight, then there's more pipe on
Do we
shoreway.
have to worry about anything about the ecology of the creek or?
I don't, no, I mean, that's all been taken care of. It's not really a creek at that point. It's a it's a concrete culvert, and we're going way underneath it. So that's,
All right, good, thank you.
I could talk about this all day. So. Please go ahead.
No, yeah, fine.
But the reason I want to bring it up is they're big ticket projects. So DLNO is done, with the exception of one pending change order. The two staff members that I wanted to ask to join along with Michael are in operations. They're the reason that the change orders ended up where they ended up. The average change orders for underground construction averages in California is about 10%. And we ran this, the project is essentially done, and we came in around 2% for total. The number that I look at is the and I'm looking at the next page, 1.34, which is the unforeseen conditions. The rest of the stuff we asked for, right? The district staff or others, if we want a new fire hydrant or others. This is the first time some of the directors are seeing this kind of analysis. At the end of each project, we bring this to the board, so you can kind of see how we ended the project. So there's still one pending change order. We'll probably end up with a 2% unforeseen and 3% total, but still way under the average. There's a progress payment for $16,000 this month, and then there's going to be another progress payment next month to wrap things up. This project is on hold until the springtime when we slurry seal the road. We ran out of time to do that. So there's still some work done. You can see the remaining contract amount of $47,000. I wanted to, next month, we're gonna have the district inspector and the district project manager and Michael, all three of them here, because I do want to acknowledge that it takes effort to bring in a project of this magnitude with this change order amount. And I like to acknowledge them in front of the board.
Good idea.
This doesn't tell you the full story of how challenging this project was. I think I mentioned that it was not the cleanest. They were not the safest. They were safe, but they could have been, better. And the impact to our customers was tremendous. And if you look at just the numbers, that looks great. But we had to almost call the police twice on how they treated our inspector on this job. And so looking at the project in totality, it was extremely challenging. And one of the things that we're looking at, I think I mentioned this to the board last time, is doing a pre-qualification possibly for contractors to not have to work with contractors that are a little bit more, I don't want to, maybe professional is the right word, but that's overall, budget-wise, great. I really feel for the neighbors because they were terribly impacted. I'm sure that's going to show up in our end of the project survey that we send out to them. And I think that'll be great input for all of us to look at and say, yeah, I think it makes sense to maybe look at that pre-qualification of contractors.
So when you say pre-qualifications, the data that you're looking at, that you cannot find that anywhere.
The what, I'm sorry?
The data you're looking for, where contractors had, where neighbors had a bad experience with the contractors, where the contractors could have been a little bit more professional with both our inspectors but where do you find that data?
I think there's opportunity to look at claims, to look at safety
In previous,
previous projects, to really dig deep on how much bait and switch they do with their personnel, how well they stick to a schedule. We had situations on this project where we show up on a Monday and we have a look ahead schedule. That's what we base our personnel, we assign inspectors and say, okay, the contractor says they're gonna have one crew, one inspector goes out, they have 3 crews show up. And, then we're scrambling on ours. So I think there's opportunity. Yes, you can't measure satisfaction of a customer, but I think you could kind of back into it by looking at other.
Because you're talking about using that data to pre-qualify somebody. And that's gonna be, that would be great if you could do that, but it's gonna be a challenge.
There's other agencies that have done it, so we're not reinventing the wheel, and I think we have enough work, so it's not gonna be just Mid-Peninsula that they're pre-qualified for.
Correct, yes.
There's other agencies on the peninsula that so there's enough work between these, other agencies and us, capital work, where it makes it worthwhile for them to go through this process. And quite honestly, Louis, it's a small community of contractors, and we've worked with them, and we can put processes in place to make sure that we're getting the best
It's a great
qualified.
idea. If you can bring it to bear, that will be awesome, because that will make the contractors think twice about the bait and switch. And
If
all
they want to
these
stay on the list.
That's the best part I like about that is that, you can kind of have a little bit of leverage at that point with these people to say, look, you said you enjoy being in this circle.
Exactly.
You should toe the line.
And that's, so one effort is getting them, getting a list together, but the positive part is exactly what you said, is that then there is that incentive for them to perform because they want to stay in this list and have that, then they're not competing against 12 contractors, they're competing about 5 or 6. The other thing that we want to make sure is that it doesn't drive up cost for us, having a smaller pool, but versus a bigger pool. But studies have shown that it doesn't drive it up that, it's very marginal, but you save on inspection costs, you save on other headaches that come down the road. And especially to our customers, right?
I think it's a great idea in the sense that, again, you're gonna see familiar faces using, work through these programs and different projects. Where if it's a new contractor all the time, it's like having somebody work on your house. If you don't know somebody, it's great to have a friend that's a contractor that'll, he's done your floor, he's done your lighting, he's done all these things. So you're familiar with their processes, their staff, their work ethic, their integrity.
And it goes 2 ways, and I know I'm going over, I apologize, but it goes 2 ways because you're developing that relationship.
Yeah.
So the cost savings come when the contractor knows and trusts the owner, so they don't have to jack up their price because they know you're gonna be fair during negotiations. So they give you a fair price. They don't build that in. But if you're working with a new contractor, like you said, every time, you don't have that relationship. And then there's training opportunities also for their staff that we can put on workshops for those specific contractors where they get familiar with our specifications, they understand how we operate. And so we're still in the works, but it's sort of a, it's a win-win, but we just got to make sure we have the right qualifications. So getting back to the LNO, almost wrapped up. We'll have one more progress payment, and then it's going to go on pause, and then we'll reactivate it during the springtime to get the slurry sealed up for the neighbors. And I don't think there's any pictures. So I'm sorry. One more. Yeah, this page. Sorry. The color. It's page 123. Yep, so this is the change order log that we provide at the end of every project. That just outlines every change order that was processed for this project. Thank you.
Very good. Good discussion as well. Excellent. Anything else on this? All right, very good. Admin Services Manager.
All right, well, I think our most exciting news is that we have our new maintenance technician, Andy Villanueva, has started with us as of January 5th, so we are fully staffed. Very exciting. Andy joins us from the city of Burlingame, in the Public Works Department.
There's nobody calling right now. Let me know.
See what he's doing over here.
He comes from the Public Works Department. He also has some background in water management, so it's really beneficial for us. Lucky us, we have new board training that we all get to do. I don't know if you've been made aware of it, but we get to complete a 2-hour financial management training, all of us, and I will keep you guys updated on when that training comes to fruition and we all get to take it together. I know you're excited. I am.
Oh, you can tell too, huh?
Yeah, totally. I'm
excited.
lucky Matt's not here. Because Matt would have lots of things to say.
I've already signed up.
CSDA released the new Brown Act manual with the updates. So if you guys want me to email you a copy, it's a hefty document. I can email you a copy, or I can actually print you one out and have it sent to your homes.
Email.
Email? Perfect. I will go ahead and email it to you, read it at your leisure. It's amazing. Something that I am very beneficial of is that I get to receive all of the customer emails of when they love us. And of course, when they don't love us, but when they love us, it's really great. And I get to share these emails with our staff. So when we receive them, I make sure first and foremost that Kat is made aware of them, Sarah is made aware of them, and then staff is made aware of them, and just thanking them and letting them know what a great time, what a great benefit that is to us as a district to have them be such an impact to the community. So with that, I also thought, well, I should probably start sharing them with you guys now. And so this is a customer that emailed and, raved about Trevor Morris. As you know, Trevor just recently became a water system operator due to obtaining his certification. And so he's been with the district now for almost 2 years. He's come in and really just hit the ground running, I'll tell you that. He wants to learn as much as he possibly can. So going forward, I would love to include all of these emails to you as I receive them. You can also see that Aviana Swift is also mentioned in this email. She just hit 6 months. She took over for Ron as he retired. She's our administrative, well, now she's our administrative specialist because she was just promoted. So she will be taking on some projects, including some board things from Kat and I and Sarah, which will be great for us. But for the most part, that's all I've got for you tonight.
Very good.
That's really above and beyond, yeah, what you did, checking for the leak.
But you know, if you come to know him, that's very typical of him. So, I mean, that I will tell you right now, that is not my first email I've gotten about Trevor.
That's great.
I also print out these emails and I put them in their personnel manual or file, personal file, just so that they can have them there. And they will reference them.
Excellent. Yeah, those are all good things to hear about our employees, and hopefully it's contagious to everybody else.
I like that word, yes, it's contagious.
Yes. All right. Very good. Now, our operations manager.
Yeah. So I will talk a little bit about the Folger Emergency Operations Center. We did have our site walk where we had all of the proposed, all the potential bidders came.
Contractors.
Yeah. They came on the 13th. It was really well attended. We had over 30 people there. Several different general contractors were represented. So now we're kind of in this phase where they're submitting questions and we're going through and answering the questions and putting out addendums to the RFI, posting them on the webpage, and then eventually the deadline will be cut off where they can't ask any more questions, and bids will be due February 24th. And I was going to say about that.
That's exciting, yeah.
Yeah, it is exciting. Yeah. We're working a little bit more on Folger to get some of the information that was requested regarding asbestos contamination. So we're doing a little bit more additional sampling than we originally did. I don't think that it's going to result in having any more, but we just want to make sure of the extent of where the contractors might need to do that remediation. We're working on that. Let's see, anything else on Folger? Dairy, I don't think so. Dairy Lane, we're definitely moving full speed ahead on the design with that. Our staff is working with the architects and the architect subconsultants, particularly the electrical engineers. They've just been going back and forth, asking a lot of questions about existing conditions. Our Kelly, what's her title? Accounts payable specialist. She spent a lot of time going back and getting a lot of PG&E records for the electrical consultants so that they can do the design properly. We're also really actively working with the city of Belmont for the planning permit, working out the planning and the zoning and the building permits timelines. Let's see, I was going to talk about the 101 undercrossing, but I think Juven did a great job on that. In operations, yeah, we did have a couple of pretty large leaks last month. The one that you all may have been informed about at Notre Dame, where we had to do the subsequent sampling after the initial round of sampling came back potentially contaminated, where we would have had to do a boil water notice. And we've done a lot of debrief around that, and we're looking at our SOPs and creating different SOPs based on lessons learned. We didn't have to activate that, but just that we almost did. I think we learned a lot and learned how we might be able to improve on that process next time. Let's see. In the development world, there was a water service agreement at 803 Belmont that I just wanted to mention to you all that we needed to amend because the original project did not call for, well, the revised project, once they got into the design of it, we realized that they needed to install an 8-inch ductile pipe in the right of ways of replacing our water main, where that wasn't in the initial project. So we worked with legal to revise that water service agreement to include that infrastructure and recoup legal and inspection fees for when they install that. And water supply outlook, I just wanted to mention, I know you probably heard it in the news, but it's the first time in 25 years that California is drought free.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw a little thing in there in honor of Rena, because I know he definitely would have been excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
Entire state?
Yeah.
Wow.
Entire state.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's the first time for all these years. Oh, Rena will be dancing on the
20 minutes later, we could have moved on. I love them. Yeah, that's all I really wanted to point out. But if you guys have any questions about any of the other things.
Excellent. Any questions for the general manager, for the ops manager? Kirk, you're good?
I'm good, thank you.
And no public, correct? All right, very good. Thank you, Sarah. All right, general manager.
All right, so Rena actually says hi. I got to see him I stopped in Cleveland on the
He
way
came here?
down. No,
Oh, you
on my
saw him over
trip
there?
last week. So
Of course.
yeah, I saw him on Thursday and we actually stopped and had coffee and hung out for a couple hours actually chatting and stuff.
Nice.
So he's doing great,
Of course.
enjoying retirement. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is hi to everyone.
Is he traveling too?
Not yet,
Not yet?
not
'Cause
yet.
I know he
but
had a mind to do
He's got some ideas.
Yes, good for him.
Yeah. All right, so in my report, I've highlighted, we got what they refer to as the range letter from SFPUC. That's kind of the first step in their rate setting process, every year, where they give us, a semi-broad range of what they expect, the unit cost to be as of July 1. So the numbers they gave us reflect between a 5.9 to a 9.1% increase over current. This is more substantial than what they had estimated last year in the look ahead. But the good news, at least, is that it's on the order of what they actually estimated in, I think it was April 2024, when we did our rate study. So our rate study has the assumption that SFPUC rate as of July 1 will be $6.30. And here they're saying it's going to be somewhere between $6.14 and $6.33. So we'll watch it. They have, a handful of years ago now, they have had a history of actually setting the rate higher than their range letter. The last couple of years, they've been consistent within the range. So, and towards the lower end of the range, I have last year's numbers in here, where it was kind of in the middle of the range. So, hopefully that will be the case. We do, just as a reminder, the way our rate study was done, we have a direct pass through. So if their actual costs are, let's say, 5 cents above what our rate study identified, then we can raise our rates that extra 5 cents without doing an additional Prop 218. It also means if they come in 5 cents lower than what's projected, well, we don't raise that 5%. We keep our customer rates 5 cents lower. So it's a true direct pass through. So, and we have all those mechanisms in place. We just have to do our 30-day notice prior to July 1, and we'll be able to enact whatever rates we within those parameters that we need to by July 1. So,
But I thought they kind of settled around the 9% already, right?
SFPUC?
Yeah.
No, this is the
within
first.
the range. It could be either or.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty early too.
Yeah, they generally adopt their rates in, I think, like mid-May is usually. So it gives us basically just enough time to
I
issue
don't know
ours.
what I read it, but I
at
thought
the end
it
of
was
June.
gonna be in the 9, which is, I know it was gonna be on the higher end.
Yeah, maybe they just gave you kind of the high end, which would be 9.1% if it's the highest. So, but this letter just came out last week.
Yeah.
Or the 14th. Was that last week?
Okay, well, that's good. Maybe it will be lower than 9.
That would be great if it is.
Yeah.
So. We also, feels like forever ago, but in December, we had our White Elephant gift exchange with the whole staff. I think we had that right after the board meeting last year. So that was great. We have lunch and it's an annual tradition now. And it's just a lot of fun to get together and celebrate the year together as staff. Sarah did a great job talking about the boil water notice. The only thing I'll point out, so we had done a little preparation in just preparing potential boil water notices to have them on the shelf. And so this little graphic, which you fortunately didn't have to see with anything issued, but that was something that John Davidson had already prepared. And there's a whole template that really looks like, our branding, so that if a customer gets it, they visually recognize that, yes, this really is Mid-Pen. This isn't something, sketchy. I can believe it and trust it. So we do have some of that, and now we've kind of almost gone through the process. I think there's a few more, tweaks and things we'll make. So hopefully we'll never need them, but it's very nice to have them ready if you do. Board member recruitment for Division 3 seat. So applications closed January 20th. And out of the about 2,400 homes in that division, we received 12 applications. So that's kind of, that's amazing. I think, our outreach effort was a great success, and I think we have to thank the city a lot for including our advertisement in their newsletter so consistently, as well. Of course, we did the direct outreach with the postcard. So the ad hoc committee did meet and reviewed the candidates, and we definitely have some very strong ones. So those interviews will be upcoming. And
on Monday. All right. And the applicants were notified?
Yes, they were.
The next item I have here is I attended, again, this was back in December, but I attended a meeting that San Mateo County Emergency Management organized. It's called the COAD Work Group for Community Organizations and Special Districts. It was mostly nonprofit community organizations who attended, as well as North Coast County Water District, West Bay Sanitary. I think maybe Sam Trans was also there. The goal is to develop what they call a cluster framework that will strengthen our coordination and communication structures during emergencies, which I completely support their goal. I and also Adrian from North Coast expressed our thoughts that perhaps public agencies shouldn't be included in that particular group. That's a great and worthwhile group, but so it's an ongoing conversation, and the county is very receptive. So it's, we're happy to participate in this, and so we keep bringing up the buts, and like I said, they are receptive, and we're working towards something that makes a lot of sense for water agencies, whether you're a special district or your department of the city or a Cal Water.
Yeah. Definitely not with at least many of the nonprofits. That's not.
They're just a different nature of the types of response they'll need in an emergency. So. Also the IT services RFQ, so that closed. We received 4 statement of qualification packages. We've reviewed those, and we do have a top candidate that we're going to be interviewing also next week. So assuming all goes well, we will be bringing that to the board, and I feel very good. So and then I think everything else is kind of up. Well, okay, so the audit update, there's not much of an update. We keep pinging our auditor to finish up and get us the draft. So also Chamber San Mateo County, so a handful of years ago, some of the local Chamber of Commerce's joined together to become Chamber San Mateo. That includes Belmont, Redwood City, San Carlos, and I think it's Foster City in there too, I think. And so when we talked about how at the strategic plan of getting more involved, we're seeing what the opportunities to get involved. So they have the annual event, the Chamber San Mateo Progress Seminar. I've gone to that the last couple of years. President Vela will be attending this year as well in April. I also reached out.
I've been hearing about it for so many years. I've never attended, so I figured, okay,
you got to
finally broke it.
Has to be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your tuxedo, right?
I know. I look forward to it because I heard a lot of things about it, from a lot of different agencies and people in politics.
Yeah, it's a very efficient way to make those, connections and touch with a lot of people, because they're just all so concentrated.
The local agencies.
All those here in San Mateo County.
Which is the one that we deal with the most, obviously.
Yeah, so it is a really worthwhile event. I did reach out, and I noticed, we are members, but we weren't listed on their website as members. We weren't listed under elected officials. So I did reach out to them and asked them to update those, and their CEO in these communications invited me to share about the district at a committee meeting. So I will be doing that. She hasn't yet, suggested what committee, what date, but I certainly will do that when asked. And I have listed here, they have 4 different committees that meet. They all meet bi-monthly, by Zoom. So if anyone's interested in joining those or learning more about those, the information is here. And I think everything else has been covered, but certainly if you have questions, let me know.
All right. That's it. Any questions, anybody? Cool. Okay, director's report. Anything?
I just want to thank Allison again for her help with getting some stuff, public folder for the potential history exhibit, which unfortunately is not going to work out great, but I did learn all kinds of insane, weird stuff about the water organization from the 20s. One thing I'd be proud in my mind with that thank you letter, one of the things I found in this ancient binder were thank you letters, and I don't remember exactly what tank it was. Jubin probably remembers, based on the ones that are colored blue, how many people were delighted with the color when it was painted blue. I couldn't believe it when I started reading through those. There was actually a proposal to paint them to look like the side of a redwood tree. Like they would look like a giant stump. And so they were like, thank you so much for painting them blue, and the evening sky, it matches, and it's a lovely,
It's gotta be well spelled on, I would think.
it must be, yeah. So anyway, thank you again for access to that. I may dive back into that.
We're gonna paint it green.
12. If I come across them again, I'll pull them out. You can share. Nothing else from me.
We attended the ad hoc committee.
Oh, yes.
We reviewed that.
Yes.
Good. And the HIA?
HIA as well. A lot of interesting development for stuff going on in the HIA district with property valuations and whatnot.
And thank you for sending that information.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I did, yeah.
The kind of gist of it was basically the commercial aspect really seems to be slowing on all the biotech, but what's taking up the slack apparently are some smaller AI companies with devices and equipment potentially being used in those spaces. So again, the real estate is always an ongoing project, but it's going to be an interesting evolution to see what gets built and developed there. But there are a lot of projects around Belmont that are about ready to get going. The one right next to the Chinese restaurant here on Ralston, I know they're going to demo. I think you probably heard from the city.
We just got their plans.
Yeah, so they're coming soon. And then I think the one over by Nesbitt, it's not, I think they just got their permits or something. But anyways, informative.
Really good. Kirk, anything from your end? You're hunkering down for the
Yeah,
storm?
I'm keeping busy, but not with district work. Let's put it that way.
Very good. All right, Director Covington, anything from your end?
Nothing is
Good.
known.
All right, good. Quick couple of things from me, because we missed the Bosco report on this agenda, so we'll make sure that next time it's there. So the most important thing is that in their infinite wisdom, the Bosco elected a chair and a vice chair, and I don't know why, but they elected this guy, Louis Vela, as the chair. And Karen Hardy as the vice chair of Bosco for this coming year. Hopefully they last.
Congratulations.
My first comment said, forgive them because they know not. Anyway. So yeah, that was the first meeting, and so now in March, we'll start the routine. And then we did the same thing. It was this first meeting of the year. There's a lot of administrative stuff with this. We have to, besides electing the chair and vice chair of Bosco, we have to elect the chair and vice chair of the RFA, which is the finance authority that backs Bosco, you know. So there's a lot of going around voting and all that, but it has to be done just once a year. We have to do this. And then we had the San Francisco PUC report, which was all, you know, beautiful and very bright because they did say that you know, we're out of drought for first time in 25 years, and actually the whole state of California was white, you know, which is great. And the reservoirs are the same thing. As a matter of fact, they're releasing some water already, you know, in anticipation of some of the snow melt, you know, that will come eventually. So the next meeting won't have the Bosco report, but the meeting after that we will, correct?
Back on track, yeah.
And I know that you attended the managers meeting. Did you attend that one or?
Yes, we both attended the WMR meeting
And
this month. It was actually on the short side, which was a surprise. Bit of discussion about strategy 2050 updates on that, and nothing really substantial that we discussed.
we did talk. We had a pretty robust discussion at Bosca on the issue of conservation as opposed to rising costs. And for us in the water business, water districts and those in public works, people who are members of Bosca, you do understand you have to have the fixed cost. No, and so sometimes no matter how much water you sell or you don't sell, the cost still has to. But for many of the political people, council members elected, which they are not kind of in the water, they are more on the political side. It's just they cannot understand it, you know. So there's a lot of these back and forth discussions on that. So, you know, you're telling us to have people, you know, conserve water and all that, and now you're raising the cost because we're conserving too much and you're not selling as much. And it's just like, it's that you cannot connect the dots. I tell you, it's just very difficult.
You want water in your fire hydrant?
Yeah, I know.
It's
So, but it's the capacity, how much water you sell, and we go into the, you know, MGDs, and is it 2.5, is it 2.7, 2.8 MGDs, what is it, you know? And it looks like, you know, people are searching for that equation that, you know, 2x plus y equals that, and it doesn't exist. And that we can never, you know. So that, you know, the San Francisco PUC, Ellison Castama especially had to, you know, kind of wiggle a little bit, you know, on that. So anyways, it's made for a very interesting discussion in that. And I understand that SFPUC also is going to go ahead with the development in Millbrae of their new facility there.
Yeah,
And
they did say they would share that.
there's a lot of discussions there with what's going out and what's going in.
What kind of facility?
The San Francisco Public Utilities Commission has their main lab and their main shop basically in Millbrae and El Camino. And in that, they have a large piece of property, and in that property, they leased part of it to Orchard Supply Hardware. And now it's called Outdoor Supply Hardware.
Yeah, that's one of the ones
Right?
that.
And KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So they're getting revenue from those. But now they need that piece of property because they have another facility in Burlingame, which was deemed seismically unsafe. So those employees need to move to Millbrae, but before they do that, they need to rebuild this one. So Orchard is out, KFC is out, and they're gonna build this new building. And whenever you do that, obviously in a community, you know, the community is gonna go like, no, not here.
Yeah, they're actually gonna repurpose the Osh building into their shops. So, I think the KFC building
It's
is not
gonna be like
maintaining
a
it.
2-story building, isn't it?
The way they described it to us is that they were gonna repurpose it, so maybe they'll add a second floor, but
Yeah.
that they're gonna utilize the building that it does exist.
So, anyway, so you listen to both sides, I mean, both sides have their own reasons why they're doing that. And somehow, you know, we need to reach hopefully a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Okay? Anything else? And we've done away with the closed session, so if there's nothing else, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved,
Second?
second, all right. Sure. Thank you, Kurt.
Good night, all.